Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Gruntaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, so we're in text 8, I believe. We chanted Saivam Adin Yavnavadya Chestita, yeah. So he's entering. All right, well, wait. Yes, definitely text 8. All right. Okay. Okay. Now what? Stupid thing. Okay. Narayan namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam tato jayamudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this fourth day of December 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're in the fourth canto, the creation of the fourth order, 21st chapter, instructions by Maharaj Prithu, text number 8. Sutta uvacha tadadirajasya yashovajimbitam gunarashesha gunavatsabhajitam chatta mahabhagavatak sadaspate kaushadavim prahagvanantam archayam. Sutta uvacha tadadirajasya yashovajimbitam gunarasheshaya gunavatsabhajitam chatta mahabhagavatak sadaspate kaushadavim prahagvanantam archayam. Sutta uvacha tadadirajasya yashovajimbitam gunarasheshaya gunavatsabhajitam chatta mahabhagavatak sadaspate kaushadavim prahagvanantam archayan. Sutta uvacha tadadirajasya yashovajimbitam gunarasheshaya gunavatsabhajitam chatta mahabhagavatak sadaspate kaushadavim prahagvanantam archayan. All right, I'll read the synonyms. Sutta uvacha, Sutta Goswami said, that Adirajasya of the original king, Yashaha, reputation, Vijrimbitam, highly qualified, Gunai, by qualities, Asheshai, unlimited, Gunavat, fittingly, Sabhajitam, being praised, Chatta, Vidura, Mahabhagavata, the great saintly devotee, Sadaha, Pate, leader of the great sages, Kausharavim, unto Maitreya, Praha said, Gwanantam, while talking, Archayan, offering all respectful obeisances. Translation. Sutta Goswami continued, O Shonaka, leader of the great sages, after hearing Maitreya speak about the various activities of King Prithu, the original king, who was fully qualified, glorified, and widely praised all over the world, Vidura, the great devotee, very submissively worshipped Maitreya Rishi and asked him the following question. Text number 9. Vidura uvacha so bishikta patu vipraya labdhashi susurarhanaha bimbrat savaishnavam tejo Bhavoryabhyam dudohagam. Vidura said, "My dear Brahman Maitreya, it is very enlightening to understand that King Prithu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmins. All the demigods presented him with innumerable gifts, and he also expanded his influence upon personally receiving strength from Lord Vishnu. Thus he greatly developed the earth." Purport. Because Prithu Maharaj was an empowered incarnation of Lord Vishnu and was naturally a great Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, all the demigods were pleased with him and presented different gifts to help him in exercising his royal power. And the great sages and saintly persons also joined in his coronation. Thus blessed by them, he ruled over the earth and exploited its resources for the greatest satisfaction of the people in general. This has already been explained in the previous chapters regarding the activities of King Prithu. As will be apparent from the next verse, every executive head of state should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Prithu in ruling over his kingdom. Regardless of whether the chief executive is the king or president, or whether the government is monarchical or democratic, this process is so perfect that if it is followed, everyone will become happy, and thus it will be very easy for all to execute devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Salakya Chakshurun Midatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Balaram, can you see if this incense is still burning? If it is, put it out. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhu. So I did Om Jnana. Yeah, okay. So there's a saying you may have heard before. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is a description of the leaders in Kali Yuga, as described very in some detail in the 12th canto. How the degradation of the kings and executive heads in general will take place as Kali Yuga progresses, and we're in the middle of that right now. And so you can see how here we have a great contrast. When you have a real Vaishnava king here, a pure devotee, empowered representative of the Lord, even though he's been given all the power, everybody is beholden to him, they're all bowing down and glorifying him, but he's not at all intoxicated with that power. He's using it for the benefit of the people. The more wealth that's given to him, the more power. His great happiness is just seeing that the people are nicely engaged in their dharma, swadharma, and that they are progressing in Krishna consciousness. Peace and prosperity is his ambition. So this is a great testimony to the general principle of bhakti, that it purifies the heart. We read in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita the contrast, the demoniac qualities when they become prominent in leadership. It creates havoc on this earth. The leaders get powerful and they want more power. There's never enough. There's never enough wealth. And they utilize their position to increase that, even to the point of annihilating various enemies and various intrigues, lying constantly. And the people feel great anxiety because they don't have a strong protector. And indeed, they're just like poor animals getting ready to go to the slaughter. So there are various descriptions in the Bhagavatam of reigns of kings like this. There's a short one about Yudhishthira in the first canto. There's Parikshit is also described, and of course here we have Prithu, Ambarish, Lord Ramchandra, of course. So Krishna is very concerned because there's something called, what was it? Not Devarshi, Rajarshi. The idea of Rajarshi, the king is meant to be a rishi, a learned scholar, and a devotee. And therefore he gets the authority of God. That was even there in the Western monarchies. Although it became completely corrupted. The divine right of kings is called. The divine right of king. The king can do no wrong, beyond the law. So you can see how dangerous that is when the king is not a devotee, and still he has this divine right of kings. It becomes horrific exploitation of the people, all kinds of suffering, wars constantly going on for material gain. So here we see that Vidura is appreciating this description of King Prithu. Now Vidura is a pure devotee. He's Yamaraj. And we've learned already in the first canto how he returned after this whole hearing from Maitreya and then learning of the demise of the Yadu dynasty. Krishna's going back to Godhead. He returned back to Hastinapur, and they met with Dhritarashtra and gave him good instructions and saved him from a very ignominious departure. He was able to get liberation, purify himself. So he's appreciating this description of Maharaj Prithu. Now, we haven't heard, any Leela of Krishna, dancing in Vrindavan here. It's all been simply the activities of this wonderful king and how he's interacting with the Vishnu, because Vishnu comes down. This is part of the Bhagavatam's glory, is that every passage, when you read it long enough, it comes down back to bhakti and Krishna appearing, the qualities of the Lord, and as contrasted to those of the demons. So this is what's happening here with Prithu, and as I have been saying when I give the class, how I'm just anticipating the next chapter where the Kumaras come. But before then, we're going to hear some very wonderful instructions by Prithu himself. So this is an introductory section here to this chapter. And he's actually recalling and reviewing this whole coronation that took place. Remember where they all came and they gave different gifts? I always remember this one gift, a pair of shoes that will take you anywhere you want to go. The Wizard of Oz. Did I mention that? I said, because there's various things, the monkey soldiers. I was thinking that this author, I used to read those. I was passionate about those when I was in grade school. There was like a whole series of Wizard of Oz books. I don't know if you know that. And I would read every one of them. And then when I came in touch with the Bhagavatam and the Ramayana, I said, maybe he was reading somebody got a hold of the Bhagavad Purana. Anyway, so this, he was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmins. They presented him with all these innumerable gifts, which he used in Krishna's service, of course. So every executive head should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Prithu. Now, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes speak about this because he's a representative of Krishna. He's starting his movement from the ground up. His godbrothers thought they would go immediately to the ruling class, but they didn't make any headway because they're too fixed in their commitment to wealth and power and everything. For whatever reason. But Srila Prabhupada very wisely, although he was not averse to meeting leaders, later on when the movement developed, he would meet anybody, especially in influential position. But he, from the ground up, he preached to anyone who was ready to hear, and he found that the Westerners, they were a better audience. I was just hearing this lecture today, because they don't have so many misconceptions about Krishna. They don't have so many other gods that they're bringing forth. They just believed Prabhupada and followed him, and that was their qualification. So we find in the Bhagavatam periodically there are going to be different avatars, and we'll read about the qualities in here. And the great devotees are, just as Vidura is very eager to hear about them. So we should also be. All right, I'm going to read one or two more verses here. Kon vasakirtim nashanotya bigyo yad vikramot chishtam ashesha bhupa loka sapala upajivanti kamam adyapi tanme vadakarma shuddham. Pritha Maharaj was so great in his activities and magnanimous in his method of ruling that all the kings and demigods on the various planets still follow in his footsteps. Who is there who will not try to hear about his glorious activities? I wish to hear more and more about Pritha Maharaj because his activities are so pious and auspicious. Purport. Saint Vidura's purpose in hearing about Pritha Maharaj over and over again was to set an example for ordinary kings and executive heads who should all be inclined to hear repeatedly about Pritha Maharaj's activities in order to also be able to rule over their kingdoms or states very faithfully for the peace and prosperity of the people in general. Unfortunately, at the present moment, no one cares to hear about Pritha Maharaj or to follow in his footsteps. Therefore, no nation in the world is either happy or progressive in spiritual understanding, although that is the sole aim and objective of human life. So Prabhupada is very much aware of the condition of the world, and as all great devotees are, he's concerned on so many levels that people in general will benefit from following the principles of devotional service, and that hopefully there will be a change even in the leadership, because when what a leader does has tremendous effect. The people are just, they're simple generally, and they follow the leader. So if there's some leaders who take up Krishna consciousness, it can have a tremendous effect. But as Prabhupada, soberly says, no one cares to hear about Pritha Maharaj or follow in his footsteps. It's like an intoxicant. The money can be just as intoxicating as anything else, and power. So when people turn to the demoniac mood and they get affected by the lower modes of nature, then they get that intoxication for wealth and power. I just read this article yesterday about this kid. He's like a 16-year-old kid. And I guess this goes on a lot. And he got into the internet, and he established something on there, and gradually got more and more followers. And he was making $10,000 a month from his bedroom. And then for some reason, they ended his... because he had so many followers that he could put ads on there. And the kids are trying to sell something or get, whatever. I mean, there's a whole culture in there that I don't even know about. And then all of a sudden, his main outlet was cut off. One of his main sites went down and wouldn't come back up. And he felt that, suddenly there's a whole emotional thing, his identity, his reaching out to all these people is like... It's like a whole life online here, but it's very tenuous because it depends on, a good connection and everything else. So, he was feeling it even as a 16-year-old kid, how he now had influence, and he had power, and money was coming, from all that. And it's so damaging. You can see how it buries you, under illusion. Because the whole problem is the false ego, which is built around this idea of me and mine. And the more that you have this fame, and people are honoring you and want to hear from you, and they're willing to pay you, it's just the opposite of the nothing is mine, Hare Krishna, Trinadapi Sunichena. The actual wealth or the advantage is to be bereft of all these things, but to have the association of devotees, to come in touch with the devotee, where you feel I can get some shelter here, and then if you actually begin bhajan and chanting Hare Krishna, you're in much better shape. It's just this idea of viparya. I memorized this verse, which is really telling. It's Lord Shiva. I don't know if I shared this before, but it's really good. Lord Shiva is trying to pray. He's praying to Krishna after being defeated in this whole battle over Banasura and Usha and Aniruddha, that whole thing. Chapter 63 of the 10th canto. So Lord Shiva is trying to, not save himself, he knows that Krishna is not going to kill him, but his dear devotee Banasura, who pleased him so much by playing the drums and everything. So at the end of all these prayers, he has this very telling prayer. Yas tvam visvijate martya atmanam priyamishwaram viparhyendriyartartam vishamatyabitam tyajan. So he says, one who gives you up, my Lord, oh my Lord, one who rejects you, visvijate martya, a mortal being who rejects you, who are, after all, is very self, atmanam priyam, very dear, and isham, the Lord. And then he has this wonderful phrase, turn of phrase, viparhyendriyartartam. Viparya means just the opposite. And what is it? What is the opposite? Indriya artam. The goal of attaining objects for the sense gratification. Indriya arta means things for the senses. So all of these are just the opposite. They're not dear. They're not the self, and they're causes of degradation. Then the last line, he nails it. It's like giving up. It's like giving up nectar and eating poison. Visham ati, amitam chajan. Amitam chajan. So that's exactly what the vast mass of people have done in this material world, and in Kali Yuga it's like that. The poison is so dangerous when it's hidden, when it seems to be something else. Just like this vaping thing. The kids got into it because I don't have to get all those those contaminants in the cigarette smoke. I'll just get straight nicotine. So they get addicted to these vaping things. And then they find out, this has poisons too, and these kids are dying from this. So there's some pleasure there, but it's critical. It can kill you or damage your health. So that's exactly what sense gratification is in all its forms. There's some pleasure there. Who can deny it? But within that pleasure is the seed of your destruction, the seed of your pain, much more suffering than the pleasure gives you. That's Maya. Yahi sangsbharjaja bhoga dukkha yona evite. So that is Maya's function, is to give us a big illusion, the phantasmagoria of the material energy, and so many false doors opening up to so-called pleasure, and success and fame, and it all turns to dust just by the force of time. Just by the force of time, everything that you cherish is taken away on the material side. So that understanding, that sober understanding, is not easy to come by when you're in the throes of, getting power, getting money, getting girls, getting this, It's very difficult until you get slapped down a little bit to be open to this philosophy. But that's our task as representatives of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, to become experienced, to actually realize the truth of this philosophy and give it to others. My little slogan, which Damodar Kumar Prabhu has taken, but he kind of twisted it a little bit. Love it, live it, give it. I'm going to use this on Sunday. So brace yourselves. Learn it, live it, give it. Learn Bhagavad Gita, live the Bhagavad Gita, and give the Bhagavad Gita. Learn it, live it, and pay it forward. He took that from that movie, There's a movie about it. You never heard of it? Pay it forward. It means that if you get something good, then give it to others. That whole idea. That's the basic principle. I don't mind. I don't do whatever you want with it, But that's really, that's the Acharya principle, isn't it? Is that the Acharya is one who knows the Shastra, lives the Shastra, and bothers to teach it. So that's our responsibility, and that's how Krishna will definitely be pleased and give us more and more realization. So this is a typical, little interlude here with Vidura, who is appreciating so much the description of Maharaj Prithu and asking Maitreya to go on. Who is there who will not try to hear about these glorious activities? The famous word, well, who is there? Those who are meat eaters, those who are killing themselves. Nivritta tarshai rupagi manan babaushadatrota mano biramat. That when the glorification of the Lord especially is spoken, by pure devotees who are free of material thirst, desire. Nivritta tarshat upagiyamana, this singing. It acts like a medicine to cure the disease of birth and death. Bhavavshadat. And it's not a bitter medicine, it's very delightful for the ear and the heart, So we're suffering this this disease of birth and death, which is going on millions of years. There's a very easy remedy, which is sweet, easy to take. Who is that fool who wouldn't take the remedy? One who is killing himself with Maya, or is literally killing animals. Uttama shloka guna navana puman varajeta vina pashugnat. So the Bhagavatam keeps coming back to the same theme of the importance of hearing and the purification, and how that's I like to listen to Prabhupada's lectures on that section in the second chapter, first canto, which ends with Shinvatam Sakata Krishna, and the verses that come after that. It's the success is right in our hand. It's just a question of taking it and kicking out all of the other things. How's that go? Dharma projita kaita vodra. Projita means rejecting at far distance all these cheating practices. Okay. If there are no questions, I'm going to keep going on. Maitreya vacha ganga yamunayo nandyo antara chaitamabasan arabdhaneva bubuje bhogan punya jihasaya. The great saintly sage Maitreya told Vidura, "My dear Vidura, King Prithu lived in the tract of land between the two great rivers, Ganges and Yamuna. Because he was very opulent, it appeared that he was enjoying his destined fortune in order to diminish the results of his past pious activities." Purport: the terms pious and impious. Did you know that impious is actually pronounced impious? I don't know if you knew that. But no one, I don't know, Pious is pious, but impious is impious. We'll stick with impious as Prabhupada's pronunciation. The terms pious and impious are applicable only in reference to the activities of an ordinary living being. But Maharaj Prithu was a directly empowered incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, he was not subject to the reactions of pious or impious activities. As we have already explained previously, when a living being is specifically empowered, Prabhupada will use the word specific oftentimes to mean special. And so what's really saying is especially empowered by the Supreme Lord. When a living being is especially empowered by the Supreme Lord to act for a particular purpose, he is called a Shaktyavesha avatar. Prithu Maharaj was not only a Shaktyavesha avatar, but also a great devotee. A devotee is not subjected to the reactions resulting from past deeds. In the Brahma Samhita it is said, Karmani nirdahati kintu sabhakti bhajam. Balaram, what does that mean? Karmani nirdahati. Nirdahati means burning. Totally burned. Burned up like the seeds, because they're like seeds. They're burned for the devotee. For devotees, the results of past pious and impious activities are nullified by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words arabdhan, eva, mean as if achieved by past deeds. But in the case of Prithu Maharaj, there was no question of reaction to past deeds, and thus the word eva is used here to indicate comparison to ordinary persons. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, avajananti ma mudha, which means? No, avajananti means to deride. The mood, the fool, the ass-like people deride him when he appears as a human being. This means that sometimes people misunderstand an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be an ordinary man. The Supreme Godhead, his incarnations, or his devotees, may pose themselves as ordinary men, but they are never to be considered as such. Nor should an ordinary man, not supported by authorized statements of the Shastras and Acharyas, be accepted as an incarnation or devotee. By the evidence of Shastra, Sanatana Goswami detected Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be a great a direct incarnation of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although Lord Chaitanya never disclosed the fact. It is therefore generally recommended that the Acharya or Guru should not be accepted as an ordinary man. So Lord Chaitanya, for the most part, almost always, denied this and shut his ears, But there was an incident that the Gaurarti song that we never sing anymore is celebrating this Mahapakash, where he actually did reveal himself to be Vishnu for like 28 hours or something. But this, by and large, he didn't, so it's never did. So, let's see. So this idea that, it appeared as if he was enjoying his destined fortune in order to diminish the results of his past life. It was only as if. But these words, pious and impious, don't apply to Maharaj Prithu because he's completely transcendental. And he's a Shaktivesh avatar. Shaktivesh literally means invested with special Shakti. Okay. Brahma Samhita. Everybody's bound up, from Indra down to the little germ, by their reactions to their past pious and impious deeds. That's what it means to be in the material world. But karmani nidhati kinchu the bhakti bhajam, that Krishna himself, he's the one who's burning them up. He burns up all of these previous reactions. And that's the only way to get free from it. You may surrender to this god or that god, but they can't get you free from your karma. And you're going to be suffering that. You may have some good karma, and so you can go up and live with Indra for some time. But that eventually runs out, and you have to come back to this land of birth and death. But for a devotee, karmani nidhati kintitu bhakti bhajam, that all of the karmic reactions are burned up because you're acting this. Krishna describes this in the 4th chapter, the difference between akarma, karma, and vikarma. So one has to understand this, is it? So in that context, the word karma means fruitive activities that are engaged in according to the rules and regulations of the Vedas. So that you're not being degraded through animal life, and within that Vedic paradigm, you'll come in touch with Vishnu. Even during the sacrifices where you just want to go to heaven, there's still some chanting of Vishnu. And eventually you'll meet a pure devotee and come out of that. But vikarma is vicious activity, completely alien to the Vedic paradigm, and which brings tremendous suffering and often leads to loss of human life. But the real thing is, the real one is akarma. Activity that has no reaction because it's simply done for Krishna's sake. All the fruits are given up to him, and better than just the fruits, the actual motive and the consciousness while you're doing it is on Krishna. That's real bhakti. So that's the and then as you engage in that activity, you're eliminating any previous karma, and you're not engaging, and you're not getting any new good or bad karma, and then you come to the point of naishkarmya, state of naishkarmya, where all your activities are free from any reaction. The only reaction is that you're deepening your love for Krishna. That's what we're aiming for. So Prabhupada makes that point here, but we'll read about Prithu in future days. Okay, if there are no comments or questions, we'll adjourn. I have a busy day today. And maybe our traveling party will appear tonight. We'll see if they're up for the morning program tomorrow. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.